So today I'm just going to start talking a little bit about what went on yesterday in terms of YouTube. And Queen Bee, I'll start with. She had a 7-hour stream. Um, for the vast majority of it, I didn't listen to it. I skimmed through it, stopping 40, 50 times. But for the vast majority of that stream, they were complaining about other YouTubers. They didn't even take one day to just talk about Quinton Simon and how there is going to be justice for Quinton Simon. And the reason why they don't do that is because they don't have any other content. They're a hate channel. They're not a true crime channel. They're a hate channel. And so that's all they've got. If they just talked about Quinton Simon, they'd probably have about 10 minutes of content and then they would have to call it a day. Um, Tim B went on about how he thinks the YouTubers have, I guess, wrecked the case. He thinks that there's a chance that Leilani's going to be walking free because of them. I don't think that's actually the case. That's probably the furthest thing from the truth. I I believe that they have a lot more evidence than anybody knows about. I do not think she's going to walk. I think that the reason that they stayed out in that landfill for so long looking for him was for two reasons. One was to tie the case together, and two, they couldn't leave a little boy out there to have his final resting place be in a landfill. So that Tim B thinks that the YouTubers had some massive, you know, hand in bringing down this case in some way. I think he's completely incorrect. He is completely biased as well. The whole channel over there is biased. Their hate for other YouTubers makes their thought process very myopic. On Cher's panel, she was talking to Billie Jo. Billie Jo called in. Um, Billie Jo did not really mention Quinton Simon. She talked about her daughter. She talked about giving her daughter a last meal. She talked about herself. She talked about how she can't get peace because she talked about everything, but she didn't talk about Quinton. Not once. And she wonders why people constantly are coming for her. But Cher was talking about how if the other YouTubers that she doesn't like don't pay $2,000 each towards Quinton Simon's funeral, she's going to encourage Billie Jo to sue them. That is a ridiculous thing to tell her. That's blackmail for one, and also it's ridiculous and it will never fly in court. I'd just like to point out that in your time that you spent on this case, Cher, you have blundered and fucked up the entire thing. And I'll tell you why. Because if you were a good life coach, or even a good friend, or even a person with a fucking half a brain, you would realize that the optics of what was going on was making Billie Jo look worse. It was creating more backlash and not quelling the situation down. Okay? If you had have been a good life coach and a good friend, you would have told her, no, 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 Billie Jo, please do not put that sign up. That is going to get some backlash. It's going to make you look worse and it's going to hurt. It's not going to help you. You didn't do that because you wanted your face out there. Okay. Also, you would never have allowed her to do that with the manure and the onions and the fish guts. You would have encouraged her not to do that. You certainly wouldn't have, you know, let that get out online with pictures, because that's what a good friend and a good life coach would do. They would stop someone from doing something that is detrimental to themselves. You would have also told her not to talk to anybody on YouTube, not to go on any streams, not to talk to anybody, and you would have only talked to her in private, not for your channel. You would have told her not to talk to clowns. You would have told her not to talk to human breathalyzers. You would have told her to stay in her house, keep her curtains closed, and try to find out what happened to her grandson. You could have done a lot of things differently. But what kind of a channel do you have if you're not streaming this stuff? Not much, right? So in your next case, try to learn from this case and the things that you did and didn't do and how it did or didn't help. Stop getting mad at people that question you. You get mad. You're like, oh, you don't know. Block that person. Block that person. Get that person out of here. You know? Well, apparently you know everything. So when someone questions what you're saying, you block them. You're basically just driving your narrative. And part of your narrative was that Leilani didn't do this. Danny did it. And you still believe that Danny was involved. Okay? And at one point, you were telling Leilani not to take a charge for no man. Your channels are all garbage. I am not a YouTuber. I am just a person who's been calling out this crap. My only thoughts for the vast majority of this time has been focused on one thing: justice for Quinton. And now that the police have taken those steps and are moving forward and getting justice for Quinton, I am going to let the justice system do that. But the rest of you, Queen Bee, Cher, Savage, you guys are all disgusting. And you talk about everybody else, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is complaining and grifting in that way. That is your grift. I'm not even going to address Billie Jo today because I don't really have anything to say to her right now. To everybody else, I hope you have a good day. I hope that everybody got a better night's sleep knowing that there will be justice for Quinton. And I'll see you next time.